One that guy. All right, everybody, we're live. We're live. I think we're live. I think we've been talking, so we were live or undead with a very good animation spell upon us. And I believe we got who do we got in there? We got Mark, and he's like, "What's up, guys?"
Hey, Mark.
Yep, we got Mark in the house. I was watching Mark's videos the other day.
Really? Where are those? I think Mark followed me over the weekend and
I
made a
think
comment. Real nice.
I'm so bad with names. Mark. I
Tell
can't
us in the
remember.
comments, Mark. Where is it? Just if we look for Mark's genre mixer, will we find you?
I think we have Invisible Vance coming.
Oh,
yeah. Try to
We
get
got-
my camera to talk to it. We might be having some technical difficulties due to the fact that I'm calling from the surface of Mars. But
Yeah.
Are you tilling the back 40?
pretty much.
All right. We got Invisible Vance on the line now, too. Good. All right. Well, why don't we do our cool thing of the week? And why don't we go with you, Mike?
Oh, geez. Cool thing of the week for me is you guys already know, but I think I finished my first zine, which is like a 48-page format. And it comes with a one shot. It's made for Shadow Dark specifically, but you could adapt it pretty easily. And there's some new monsters. There's one new class. And I'm having that. I really need to do some more play testing on it, but hopefully I'll be getting that out there pretty soon and promoting that, and then telling people about it on really neat live streams. That's my dream, my vision.
Oh, we lost Vance again. That's her. No, it's I think it's going to be good. Yep. Nice. Oh, geez, I haven't done anything in 2 years. Yeah, that's a channel, but it's pretty much abandoned. Okay. I didn't even look to see what year it came out or anything.
I'm going to make Mark's channel a ruin in my game. It's just going to be.
Oh, there you go.
It's going to be an abandoned ruin.
That's right. Have to go through his videos and put like little artifacts that are.
That's right. You're going to see these projections of just these old, and I'll tell the players these are 2 years old. These are 2-year-old projections from 2 years ago.
You know, I still watch all the old Dan Norton stuff, Bandits Keep, and I know he's talking about. He likes BX and mostly plays BX. I'll still, he talks about broad topics and it's still applicable to almost any kind of setting, particularly OSR. Yeah. So I love his stuff.
Yeah, he's really good. He's a super nice guy too.
Yeah,
nice
it's fun to follow and watch. So Mark, do you write stuff? Just out of curiosity, real quick, do you write stuff, or are you forever DM? Any of those kind of things? I assume you are. I think most of the people that probably watch this on Mondays are probably DMs more than players, but I could be wrong. And I'm sure you do both.
Yeah, a lot of.
I'll hang up.
People our age, that's why I called it the filter down effect, because you know how they always say they 5e has a DM problem. 5e has a DM problem. OSR definitely doesn't have that problem because we're pretty much all DMs.
Yeah.
Oh, we had Vance. There he is.
Hey.
Oh, with video. I don't know if seeing you was necessary, but that's all right.
Anyway.
Sorry, Vance.
He worked really hard to get to that point. What about you, Flint?
I know.
Disembodied voice.
What's that?
Oh, I just asked Flint what his cool thing for the.
Oh, my cool thing is let's see here.
He's grabbing the camera.
You
got pants on, right?
More storage.
More storage. All right.
Oh, look at the label. Dice Adventure. What is it? In a bag?
Yep.
What's random treasures?
Edible panties.
Edible. Lots of three things of minis.
Oh, you didn't want that on camera?
That's his tickle mark.
They're labeled miscellaneous. Great.
Now you're going to have to do a feltothraxis like Eric.
Oh no.
And puppet.
Listen, I can't drink that much. I can't drink that much.
Oh God, that was.
Well, I'm not prepared for this particular live stream. I guess I am prepared, but
I was going to say it looks like
I wasn't going to open that. That was for another.
Yeah. I've been drunk that drunk one time in my entire life and vowed I would never do that again.
Well, we all do that, but
it
we
was-
all
it
lie
was-
and break
it
it
was-
the next week.
Oh no, not me. This was bad enough. It was like almost death, like
Jeez,
like
Paul.
alcohol poisoning for 3 days.
Yeah, that's not good. That was
Good grief, Paul.
that was
Wow.
14 years old in high school between freshman and sophomore years for me. A friend and I destroyed a fifth of tequila and a
Yeah.
fifth of Jack Daniels in the same night.
Yeah.
Parents were out of town at his house. We were watching the house, right? It was like
Yeah.
sounds like a bad Leave It to
Watching,
Beaver
yeah.
episode.
Watching
They're all
the
the
house.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, mine turned into almost a weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Um,
Somebody died.
Because I had friends dragging me around. I'm in the backseat of my own car, singing Springsteen songs and throwing up. And there's something about 150 proof pure grain alcohol and Gatorade that'll just
Yeah.
It doesn't hit you subtly. It's like
no
drinking, you're
no,
fine,
no,
you're fine, you're fine, and all of a sudden
No.
paralyzation sets in.
no.
We say, what is it? Every 7 years, every cell in our body replaces. So you
Yeah.
probably have
Oh,
lost.
it
those
took
damaged
twice that much
cells
time to
by
replace
now.
the cells in my body.
You're
I
on
assure
new.
Well,
you.
you probably
You're on new
killed them
cells.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
You know who I really enjoy is on Friday nights late is the guy, Paul. I think you turned me on to Lord. I know it's Matt, but Lord Mateus. I say.
Yeah.
Some people say
Mhm.
Lord.
I say Lord and Mattias.
Mateus, whatever. But they drink a little on their show, and geez, they start at 8 o'clock. I hate to sound like
Buddy.
an old fogey, but that's late, and then they're drinking. And
I was there for that. I don't know if you were there when I said because we eventually reached the phase of the I love you man phase.
yeah, that's not good for
I
you.
love you, man.
It's
They
like-
Yeah,
reached the I love
yeah.
you man phase, and I went, okay, there we are. Now we've
Yeah.
reached that point.
I
in
can't
the,
remember
in the
if
night.
it's fist fights, then I love you, man, or if I love you, man, then
Yeah.
fist fights.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sometimes confusing to me. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was it was something to watch. Like that was the second. I don't know. Is that like a YouTube trend? Is it like drunk tubing? Is that what we're gonna call it now? We're gonna
There's been a
D&D
couple-
drunk tubing.
Yeah. Second watch. Hey, Chubby. He's saying second watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mark is a forever DM, as we kind of figured
Oh,
that's probably the case. But yeah, I don't need to
Yeah.
turn. I
Always
don't, know about
forget
you.
that.
I don't want to turn this into a drunkathon on
So
Monday night.
no, thank you. But yes, mine is storage. I just needed more storage, and that's just eventually you just have things laying on the floor. You have just like pick that stuff up, Paul. It's just
I know it's dangerous
put it
though
away.
because it's like if I get a new bookshelf, it's just sort of like
Well, now I gotta feel it.
yeah, I got oh
I had
but,
no
like-
problem filling this.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like flat space. Yeah, any flat space is gonna get covered.
Yeah. What about you, Vance? Cool thing of the week.
Well, I mean, the coolest thing is it's just where I'm at right now. Is like I'm in Panhandle, Nebraska at my old family farm. I'm sitting in a 1890s stone farmhouse.
In a 1970s chair, I can tell by the pattern.
Actually, no, this one's a little newer.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
newer.
glider that my dad or my grandpa picked up.
Yeah.
So
Really?
it's less than
Yeah.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I have now appropriated it because I'm now the old man here.
There you go.
So I've been sorting stuff. We've been throwing away stuff. I've found so many quilts that between my grandmother, my other grandmother, and my greats, whoever, there's like a closet and a dresser and everything full of quilts right now. And then we drove up. We spent the weekend touristing, so we drove up to an old historical area with place called Fort Robinson, which is a state park that used to be an old cavalry, outpost or
yeah.
center that has a lot of history with respect to the Indian Wars, the Black Hills, the various ways we screwed over the Indians, and then some as in a training center all the way up into the Second World War. And then we drove to Toadstool Park, which is a geologic area. And then we drove through the Sand Hills yesterday, which are these huge stabilized dune fields that are now primarily ranch land, and drove through a wildlife refuge and looked at a lot of birds.
Get a
So
lot of bird. Oh no,
Hey,
that
what is
sounds
it-
really
but- but by
cool.
the way, what is a doom field?
Dune, Dune.
Oh, I said doom. I said
Yes,
He's still channeling his.
I am. When I hear the word doom, I'm like, did you say doom?
I mean, there's gameable stuff that I've been picking up as I'm driving around through here between,
Well,
the history and of course, the geography and the geology and things like that. It's kind of one of those elements that, I think, I mean, we could always talk about this some night too, of just, the things that you pick up for inspirations that are outside of maybe Pulp Fiction or outside of everything, from our history or geography or, kind of local stuff. But anyway, that's where we are. We're going to be here for another few days and then drive our sorry asses back to Seattle.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's a nice. Sounds wonderful out there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And well, I've sent you guys some photos and stuff, so you know that I suffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim,
So I've
what's your
got
cool thing.
I got a small pile of stuff because we haven't been here for a couple of weeks, and it seemed like I joined a few Kickstarters, and they all kind of came in at the same time. So
I know I've got
here's my
waiting for you. Yeah.
my Amazon finds. I ended up buying Karen 2 and that, which I liked the first one a lot, so I thought I'd get the second one. I haven't had a chance. I just got these today. So
Did you say Karen 2 or Karen 2?
Karen 2 is a VHS he has from 1978.
Karen.
Well, I was going to say, or in our day, Karen 2 is an entirely different thing where you play a Karen and you run around and ask for the manager.
Just for the manager, right?
Keep moving.
And then I got this one, Beneath the Sunken Catacombs. I thought it was an adventure. It is not an adventure. It is a whole RPG system. I did not know. I did not read the description very well. I swore. Well, maybe I put in Google searches. I was putting in like RPG adventures at not Google, on Amazon. And sometimes I go to Amazon and I'll just buy a few $10 books that are gaming books just to take a look at them and everything. And I thought I put in adventures. Well, I should never trust the search. This one's very cool, guys. This one's called In the Ruins. So it's a solo game. Matt Jackson, you'll love it. But you can do it with a group too. So what it is you build up the castle, you ruin the castle, and then you conquer the castle. So basically, you create ruins out of this book. It says In Ruins is a tabletop role-playing and dungeon building game. It will tell the story of the castle as it is built, fall into ruins, and then it's taken over by rival factions competing to control the resulting dungeon. So it's pretty. It looks. I haven't had a chance to play it. It came with stickers, but I already put those on my computer. It came on with like little. I guess these are stickers too.
Got those on your lunchbox?
I got them on my laptop. Yeah, my laptop's covered with ones. But I mean, it's a standard solo game where you use like a deck of cards, a coin, and some things. But it looked like a lot of fun. And then I joined this other. This one's a Shadow Dark one where it had Jeffrey Jones did it. Jeff, he's like a Kickstarter master right now. But it's the Dark Visions. So what Dark Visions is, it is again, I thought these were going to be more adventures type of things, but it's not. This one is mainly, it's got more character classes, and we'll be talking about some of those. And then it's got a bunch of cults in here, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's got a long list of cults, and then it does have a few adventures and in the cult. So it is a Shadow Dark cult book. So it's really interesting. And then it did come with this adventure, The Tower of Six, which I haven't had a chance to read either, but they did a really nice job, layout, maps, everything in here, and did a good job. And then it came with a little pamphlet that has I guess this was probably a stretch goal, and they just added another Knights of Saint, I don't know if I try to pronounce this, it's going to sound like some sexual thing. Terra Guinness, I don't know, but well, it's on there on the. There you
I
go.
think that's a parasitic disease, actually. But yeah,
Is it okay? Yeah, I probably.
you're fine.
Yeah, it should be. So hopefully that didn't come with a stretch goal either. Then
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I support that one or not. I've got a few of them waiting for me in the mailbox at home. So
Oh, do you? Yeah, I think that's I'm done with Kickstarters. I think for a little while because there was
Yeah,
they had a glut of ones that I'm like, I'm done. Ah, okay, one more. I'm done now.
yeah.
It's another one I really like. I got to stay away from the Kickstarters. I can only resist for so long, and then it gets to me, I guess.
There's nothing
So,
worse than they come in the mail and you're a little disappointed by what you got or what it turned out being, you know. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had any. There was one. I guess there was one that I was really excited, but I think my expectations were probably too high for it because what he gave me is exactly what he said he was going to give me. But then when he got it, I'm like, oh.
I get ruined because sometimes the flavors of the game, and y'all are probably already getting to know, I really like a historical medieval European kind of setting. So when we get into stuff that really is beyond the pale, you know, I have problems with bars and inns and things, even at that level in my world. Inns, you know, what inns? There are no inns in the 14th century in Europe, right? You're probably sleeping in somebody's barn, or you're all in the tavern sleeping around the fire.
Right. Yeah,
in one day, exactly. You know, anyway, little picky stuff like that comes from being, you know, the historian background, and I know it's a curse at times, but
yeah.
I know why I can't find more people to play with.
Deal with that with Joe all the times in his bathrooms and different things like that.
We've got like 3 or 4 chamber pots in the house here. So Joe he could just tell that we carry them around, or the goblins have chamber pots.
There you go.
They go and empty them once a day.
You find a sealed pot, Joe. Do you want to open it?
It's a kettle helm. No, it's a crapper turned upside down. Is what it is. You could wear it like a helmet, I guess, if you want. Wash it out first. A little bleach.
All right, Mike, since you thought up the NPCs, why don't you start us off with NPC wisdom?
Well, I'll tell you, well, I don't know about wisdom, but the reason this popped up is because a week or two ago, I subscribed for Gothridge Manor. Hello, I'm a fan. And I got an NPC in my email, in my inbox, and it was for a character called Bidwell. And I didn't even realize Tim was doing this. Maybe I hadn't signed up earlier, but so I find out later he's got all these NPCs, and his are really fleshed out, really cool, usable in a lot of different ways. So I thought, well, why don't we talk about NPCs and how we use them in our games? You know, you got 4 DMs sitting right here, GMs, and how do we approach? Because I'm sure it's slightly different for all 4 of us. And I think I have at one time or another, I played with all 3 of you guys as a DM/GM. And then again, I'm kind of invested time-wise into Shadow Dark right now, and I kind of like the mechanic they have in the core rules, which lets you in a jam spit stuff out. And while Chubby's on here, because he'll probably bounce off to something else here shortly, he's a pretty busy dude. But I heard him on Second Watch with, again, Lord Matthias, a couple of weeks back, and he brought up this idea that, you know, he doesn't have time to prep. And I love to prep. I love prep as play, but I understand if you're doing lots of stuff, or maybe you're doing a con, and you don't have time to think about your NPCs, being able to go to a system and spit that stuff out really quickly is a boon, right? And he was talking not so much about NPCs, but I forgot what it was, but it was in Shadow Dark. Maybe it was Encounters, and how you don't have to do all that prep. You can just go there, and it's made to like play on the fly. And if you're an experienced DM and you've been at a table for a while, and especially if you kind of know your group and they know how you play the game, you can really spin these ideas out right at the table and then run with an idea and combine it with a rumor, let's say, and it's all meant to be done with a few quick die rolls. So I really liked that idea, but I thought Tim might be able to tell us. I'm batting it back to you, Tim. I thought maybe you could tell us some about, first off, what you have as an archive, and I assume people get these on your Patreon account or get access to that.
Yeah, they're all free on my Patreon account. You can download them. I got, I don't know, 110 adventures on there or something like that. And then I think about mid 30s. I can't remember. Or mid 40. I can't remember how many NPCs I have. I screwed up the number on the last one. And then some like close to 200 different things on my Patreon, give or take some stuff. But yeah, let's see here. I will. So what I do, basically, the way I make these NPCs, I'll bring up. You want me? Let me bring up. I gotta find them right now. There he is. So what channels these NPCs is basically the artwork. There's a few artists that I use for my NPCs, and I want these ones to all be color. I love black and white art, but for the NPC cards, I want them full color and just kind of to stick out a little bit. And I'm just going to pick one of my early ones here. We'll do this guy. Newcastle.
Newcastle.
We have a Newcastle about an hour south of us, but it's not in England. It's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was asking David where that oldest pub was, and he said it's in Newcastle. So,
that's cool. Yeah, I'd love to go over there.
David, how far is Newcastle from Durham? Not far, right? I don't think. And are you a Premier League guy?
Oops.
He'll answer here in a sec.
Let me get this. Share this. There we go. So, yeah, so this one's by Luigi Castellana, I think. How you say his last name? Not sure. Yeah. But this is when I was in I think this was, I can't remember what system it is, but I just wanted to give a quick stat block. So like if players or DM had it at his table, had a quick stat block to go to, and then he could read the quick history of them. And I would just take the picture and just point and draw arrows to interesting things that were drawn on them, or just make fun of them, or be kind of. I mean, you're always going to find they're going to be a little bit snarky with these things. Like he's a questing parson, so Malcolm comes from one of the few families that remain in the Shallows. He left to follow the calling to become a parson of the god Pausanias. His training was difficult. Patience did not come natural. Shallows ingrained in him to strike first. His mentor, Parson Roberts, taught him to slow down, to think, to solve problems with thoughtful consideration. 2 years passed. The path of temperance did not suit. I don't even know how to spell or say my own name. Malcolm, I think or Malcolm. No. Then, so I try to give details of the character, a little bit of background, and then with the some of the items that they may have, I try to add a little bit of their back story concerning the items, and I try to make the items a little bit they're beyond not a +1, and if you guys see, I don't know if you can read that's Grabthar's hammer. I don't know. That was a little Advance knows where that's one from. Then that's from what was that movie?
Oh God, Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest, yeah, by Grabthar's hammer. He kept on saying. So that's where I stole that hammer from. But I give a little history of how how he found it and what it does, but try to give a little unique spin onto it, but nothing too out there, but just enough to give him a little own flavor on his own. So if you do find him, or the MP or the DM tries to or wants to use him, that he's easy to kind of put in there. And not all my guy MPs. One of the things I think some people make the mistake of is try to make their NPCs, a lot of their NPCs, too heroic-ish, because sometimes you just need, Joes and Dougs and Barts that are just farmers, or just guys just trying to figure shit out, or just some fun low end guys. I mean, I have my share of high end guys too. I like doing that, but
one thing I started doing in my solo dark came to that point, Tim, is I started keeping a list on the back of the sheet of contacts, like in their network, right? So when we're back in that village, so and so connected with that person, right? And I'd make a note of that, because it might be back that way again, and who can you go to for info and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different tricks, but what do you guys, Vance and Flint, what do you guys do?
Vance, go ahead.
I mean, there's kind of the two prongs of NPCs. There's like the kind of the set piece ones that you design that are going to be part of encounters, like or part of the scenario, like the leader, or the that particular important character that gives you information or something like that. Like my campaign, we've got various thieves guilds leaders that are a lot of different characters. We've got the Naga Queen with her rebellious bunch of outlaws. They've got this persnickety druid that they've won over. And these people that they keep interacting with and continue to build bonds with.
Right.
And have won them over to their side in a lot of ways. And then there's the kind of antagonistic ones. There's some zealots that they're dealing with. There's a couple of different factions in a merchants guild in one of the cities they're in right now, that they've been stealing stuff from each other basically, and the party's always up for a heist. And then there's like those, and some of them are that I have a little bit of backstory, like the Naga Queen, for instance, or the Thieves Guilds folks, or the leaders of a town. But a lot of them are just like, a height and a description of what they're wearing and a couple of words for their personality.
Right.
And then as if the characters interact with them well, then we build out on it and expand my notes. And then there's the Barts and the Bobs and stuff like that. Like, oh, you walk in there and I've got a list of names, and okay, here's the dwarf that runs that thing. And then in a few cases, they it's kind of that improv kind of thing of like, well, they start it's like there's that running joke about you've got the mysterious stranger in the corner smoking the pipe. Party goes over to talk to the goblin over that's drunk on the bar at the bar,
playing with a piece of string.
And so I have I'll just have a list of names and maybe come up with a little bit of character, and then they become a lot of times they become canon, or they become something. Like I had a last name of a dwarf, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to put the last name, and I noted it as being an exile. And I was like, oh, I've got this dwarven community. I'll put him as an exile from that community. And then, 6 months later, the characters interacting with that community, and they run into his cousin. And, because it helps build that veracity of the world of like,
right.
So I think those are the kind of things. I mean, I'm still not a pro at creating or running NPCs by any stretch of the imagination, but those are the kind of the two guidelines I kind of use when I'm either doing formal prep or at least just in case prep.
Gotcha. So like you say, I'm going into one of your taverns and I'm meeting Bob there. How do you come up with Bob if it's just on the fly kind of thing? So you got his name. So how do you do you just kind of wing it from there? Kind of improv it from there?
There's a little bit. I have one of the cheat tools I use the stuff off Don John a lot. And one of the nice thing about the tavern things is when you run up a tavern, it'll give you a list of 10 NPCs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Go in
okay,
there.
That's cool.
And so in many cases, I think one of the hirelings henchmen came out of one of those things of like, oh, look, one of my halfling player character say, are there any halflings in the bar? I'm like, yeah, there are. Go down the list. Oh, here's this one. This is female. Looks like she's kind of a fighter type. She's got a tattoo on her face. It's a badger. Yeah, that's it. It's a badger. And so he went and tried to talk her up, and it didn't go well, but she became a henchman and is now kind of his sidekick. So that's kind of the level of stuff that I did, or I just do the name list.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you, Vance, or for all of you. Do you guys use reaction tables when the party first encounters or your players first encounter? I know in the past I always just kind of steered it the way I wanted to steer it, but then in the back of Shadow Dark, of course, they've got that little, I don't know if you can see that little tiny reaction table down there in the back. And I'm like, that way I feel I'm not so railroady. And let me just see. I rolled up this NPC and I thought they were going to give them all this great information. Now they're hostile, so now I got to think on the fly. Okay, how's this relationship going to go or not go at all?
Yeah, I'm constantly spinning 2d6 through my stuff, and it's kind of like one of those things. I'll be rolling it, and then just kind of randomly at the table just to make the players nervous, and then it's like, okay, this is the roll that's going to count. Okay, it's an 8. All right, they're kind of interested, but they think they look like they've got better things to do. And it's like, I'm buying a drink. Okay, now they're and then we go for it. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I will say that's one thing playing solo for the first time has really helped me a lot with is just coming up with quick little, I don't want to say oracle, but it's stuff I learned from the oracle. Just I'm not sure how something's going to go. Just roll a d6 and 1 to 3 is, that kind of thing, 50-50 calls and all that. Just so it is a little bit more swingy and I'm not just deciding everything and how everyone reacts and controlling the whole game. Leaving some about that. Paul, what do you do with NPC encounters, I guess?
Well, I'm not up to that step yet. Step 29 in Rob Connolly's book of 33 steps of building out your world.
What step are you on now, Paul?
I'm on 20. I'm about to do 24 through 27, something like that. Step 29, by the way, is pick 12 most important NPCs or monsters, write a full paragraph of each, and fully stat them out. Now, I know I'm not at that step yet, but I don't think I've ever fleshed out a NPC in regards to, because NPCs are there to drive the story forward in some way when you bring them out, and however the players act to them or react to them guides wherever they take the story to. And so in my head I go, well, when I'm thinking about whoever the NPC is, I think of when I think of the Equalizer with Denzel Washington. Well, you have this this prostitute who he's now trying to valiantly free from these Russians, right? So now this one NPC, this prostitute, now you got Russians involved. Now there's some NPCs. Then you got the head Russian guy who's in Russia, and he's an NPC. So, and all of them have some degree of and then you got bad cops, right? Then you got There's all these kind of little things that you're trying to, flesh out in those things. So I think for me, when I'm thinking of an NPC, and I guess I'm thinking in the sense of a big, and I think this is because there's past and present, right? So in the past, NPCs are just there to drive. They're there to drive the story. They're kind of whatever. I like to make NPCs. I like NPCs that show up like characters on a TV show. Like they randomly just sort of show up somewhere. Like, oh, we know that guy. That
Right.
guy, you let them show up, and if they if the players really like them, then that means I should probably kill them. And then and then see what they do. No, they've killed him.
Wait, that big group you did, Paul, recently. I'm sorry, the one where you had like 12 people playing.
Yeah.
Did you have some NPCs and have to? I'm sure that. I mean, everything was new for them. None of them had played anything before. So how did that work with like you meet a character and they act like this?
No, because I had to streamline. Normally what would happen is, right, they would go into town, they would get their mission, they would talk around the people, and I just could not afford, based on the adventure we had, because this was not an open sandbox adventure. This was not a railroad, but it was a kind of an A to Z type of adventure that I thought was going to be best for them. So all those NPCs I created flashbacks. So basically around the table, they got a card. And when they heard something that related to their card, they go, oh, well, so-and-so told me such and such. So those flashback characters, if you will, NPCs, had names, but there was no background per se, except in the form of relationship, right? To who are they related to and why should they matter, and and those kind of things. So for me, NPCs, for the most part, are there to drive the story forward, or comedy relief, or sometimes, I like to use them as, like for me, when I do a voice or do something like that, I know there's some who, in a TV show or a movie, you could tell who the bad guy is. You can tell who's like, oh, that guy's going to get killed. That guy's the bad guy right there. I see him. I try not to do the giveaway. So I like to make my NPCs, some of them, I don't clue my players in. I just say, look, you just got to, and then I like the shock on their faces when so-and-so comes out and says, aha, I have betrayed you. So they've given me their trust. And so, and that's the point of the NPC. He's supposed to be lying to them. So, that's his job, that's his fleshed out job, is lie to the NPCs, get them to fall into the trap and do the thing. Right. So, but I think that's, to me, that's the fun of an NPC too, is that you can use them as a device to, enthrall your players or to entrap your players. So I like to use them. I like to use them all kinds of different ways.
Do you guys think it would be useful to have like Tim has his characters? Well, those are pretty. There's a lot of prep in there. He's got, obviously, that's like,
but that's not what I do for game. That's just for my Patreon. I don't do that.
To give them ideas, right, and then they can take or leave whatever they want. But I think I'm guessing here. Y'all say what if you agree or not. But I go too far with NPCs when I'm prepping them. But do you think there's room for like having tiers? Or do you already do that where you have like just the basic, the groom, the kid who handles the stables at the inn or the tavern, right? Who might pass on something or tell you where to go, but that's it. That end of relationship with that NPC. Well, you don't need to flesh out a whole page and roll up stats for somebody like that. No, but sure enough, as soon as you don't do that, the party's going to wind up.
You say that, but I guarantee you that Tim had to do something about some NPCs that somebody named Eleanor decided that they should be her children.
Right.
Right.
Was it Father McKenzie?
So you don't know. Yeah, they were, Starsky and Hutch. They changed from week to week, whoever they were. But now you don't know what a player is going to do with an NPC. Just like, some people want to take things and make them pets. Some people want to say, come with us, right? Depending. I think more knowledgeable gamers think we're going to pad the stats here a little bit. We're going to take this guy with us if we can and let him join the party, and we'll make him, fodder, cannon fodder for whatever it is we're going to face, and push him in front of those things. But the best thing too is that when they become, and now they're roaming around Scorn somewhere, fighting in, one's an assassin and one's something else,
Scholar or something.
Right, a scholar, a priest or whatever. And so to me, those are fun. That if a player wants to do, like, I don't know how they're going to react to an NPC. If they decide that this NPC is fun or those things, then I want to keep them around. I want to keep some of that. But if the players don't care, and it depends who you're playing with, then if they're somewhat disposable, I still may keep them around because I might like them and I might bring them up, for something. So.
Yeah, Austin on the chat is making the case for, hey, 10-word description, name it, keep it short, and you can fill in. Absolutely, I think he's right, but that's assuming, and again, we're all kind of veterans, and probably Austin and the other folks in the comments.
And Austin brings up another good point too, that he says earlier that not all your NPCs have to have depth. Some, they don't have to have like tragic backgrounds. He said that your NPC could be somebody who really likes rainbows, and he just comes out, after the rain and looks for rainbows. Right? They don't have to be as meaningful to your world as just like you said though, tiers of people. There's just that guy who does that thing until the players make him something more than that.
I think that's what Dean Wormer said was, well, the world needs ditch diggers too, son. Something like that, didn't? When that Dean Wormer, I just grabbed this behind me. These are like little NPC cards, and I'll do this for them real quick, down and dirty. And I guess I lied. Some of them I do to the 6 abilities on there, and I rolled them up. But you never know what direction they're going to go in. But I like the idea of having both, because if I'm doing like a campaign or something, I'm probably going to do the lord of that town, right? I might have the chancellor or his magician, or people I think are going to be driving things that they have a good chance of encountering, or anyone who might logically be a villain or a foe that they might fight with. I'm probably going to flesh that out more.
Yeah. And Tim, I was going to ask you, Tim, did you have to do a lot more of that, like in your world building of Scorn, or of I want to say Hogshead, but that's not Hogshead, but Houndshead, right? So you have these, players that these NPCs that your girl is going to see. That when did you create them beforehand that you knew that was going to be, or did you respond to an NPC or to a player's thing that they're going to go and they're going to go visit the bar and they're going to go see and so, and then you had to create an NPC to then engage that player?
In Houndshead, most of the stuff was our kind of NPCs were already considered, and because it's such a contained, kind of contained thing. There was only a finite number of NPCs. It's small, so I could manage the NPCs that were going to come through, and I could kind of plan the course. When you guys got in Scorn, no fucking clue. No chance of what was going to happen there, because which directions.
All you really need was shopkeepers anyway. So,
yeah,
well, that's the thing, because when you're doing a city adventure compared to because once you turn to city convention, you can stat out all the NPCs you want. You're never going to have enough, and you're not going to remember all of them, and they're always going to go to NPCs that you don't have statted. It's just the way it's always going to be.
Yeah, Tim has like 50. He's got a list of 50 shopkeepers just for Joe.
Just
for Joe when he goes shopping.
But one of the tricks I do for that is if you guys start wandering around, maybe in an area or going to some place I wasn't really sure about, one of the things I do to help me develop an NPC on the go is I take 2 people I know and I combine them. And then I take qualities of this person and qualities, maybe the speech pattern of this person. Usually only 2 people, combine them together, or I'll take an actor. Sometimes I'll role an actor played. Like, this is the guy, Vincent Price from the Raven, or this is and that way I can have a decent personality that I know have a little bit to grab onto and run with. But sometimes you just need, like you say, the ditch diggers, because with Joe is very an in-depth guy, and he wants to know.
He quiz you about everything.
Right. He'll want to know about the stable boy, and he'll want to know about that.
Is he?
And at that time, I start not, like Vance or you guys were talking about rolling reactions and stuff like that. Well, the DM at that time has failed his reaction roll with Joe and just says, Joe, he's just a stable boy. He doesn't want to talk to you. He's shoveling
He's
shit.
got a pretty
He doesn't
mouth.
want to answer questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Creepy,
like,
creepy
okay.
Joe talking to the stable boy.
yeah.
Get out of
Where's the
here.
guy go for a good
Get outta
time around here?
here. I
Get
know what
out of
you're
here,
for.
creepy old
Sure.
guy. Talking
Yeah.
to
But
the
even-
stable boy.
Yeah, I
You guys
don't
are
know
talking
the number
about-
of just
Oh God, just the number he wanted to do. No manacles. Yeah, there was manacles and Hound's Head. You brought them with you.
Is that
That's
like
how you do it.
no hammers in Shadow Dark?
Well, if you're gonna run a game with Greg, you have to make sure there's manacles available. He's just one of those guys. I mean, I won't go any farther than that, but he likes his.
We don't judge
he
here.
He likes
We
his
don't judge
bondage.
here.
Yeah, he
Mm.
likes it.
No
He
judgment,
likes it.
Greg.
Well, for North Texas, I guess we'll have to find a barn.
Tim's
with
NPCs
Chubby,
are
then he'll-
mysterious and cool. Well, that's
Yeah,
important.
Amazon. Get 'em next day.
Get him delivered from Scorn to Hound's
Right.
Head.
And you need that kind of balance. You get, like you were talking about. We need those guys that are kind of one dimensional, like Angry Bob. You know, he's just sort of like a, you play up Angry Bob. You know, the one thing about the one dimensional guys, you really have to play up their trait and make them entertaining to the players a little bit, or make that one trait kind of, have some sort of effect on the players, whether it pisses them off or makes them laugh or whatever. And then you can get your more involved characters speak. And I think one of the tricks for NPCs too is don't flesh them out all the way, because you don't know what they need to become at that moment, because they might need to become something else in a session or two.
Was Angry Bob the halfling in the cabin that had something up the chimney?
No, that was
That
Harlow.
doesn't sound good. Something up
No.
the chimney.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was
all
creepy
those are
Harlow.
so good.
Yeah, no, Angry Bob was just the one that was telling everybody to fuck off in the tavern.
Yeah.
Oh.
He hated dwarves, and he kept on.
He's
telling
looking
dwarves-
and he's looking to be hired. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, because he was the only one who was well armed. I mean, the rest of them were just all had junk as weapons and
Yeah,
armor
exactly.
and everything. Angry Bob had like plate mail. He's got weapons. And nobody's hiring him because he's just
Yeah,
nasty
got some-
to everybody.
He's got some anger control issues, probably from CTE or something, you know.
Right. But the funny thing about Angry Bob is, out of all the hirelings that were against the wall, he's the one you remember.
Yeah, but you're not
This
going to
is-
hire him. You just remember.
You're not going to hire him, but you remember him, kind of thing. And sometimes, and even though
Yeah,
you
we're hiring
didn't have
golf
much,
number 2. Yeah,
yeah, and those are great ones to have in your campaign. Just these very simple one-dimensional characters that you can really cultivate that one dimension to, like I said, have an effect on the players for good or bad. And then if the players start engaging with them, maybe we find the sensitive side of Angry Bob.
I don't know. Angry Bob reminds me of Francis from Stripes. That
Oh,
Yeah.
that's Angry Bob.
Yeah.
it's Czechoslovakia. It's
Give me a dagger, my thief a
doing
dagger. I'll find his sensitive side.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did that too. I actually looked. Since I've got my game notes here, and yeah, looking at my major NPCs are really only 2 lines,
Mhm.
and my minors are like, a few words. But if they need to get expanded out, either the majors or the minors, where like my PCs went in to steal something from one of the merchants guilds a few weeks ago, and okay, now I have to write up the full stats for this guy and his spells and his magic items and whatever else he might have or something like that. Now he's a full character. And then like the Angry Bob thing, we had in more than one town we have the sewer guild and or patrol, and they go, their job is to go and keep the sewers operating and kill the things that are in the sewers. And the party was engaged with this this woman. If she were lived in our world, she'd be one of those people who's very into trains, so to speak, and she was so she was like keep up this she's leading him through the sewers to go and break into something, and keeping up this constant stream of information about every brick and everything that they found. And they were actually very disappointed. In spite of that, they're amused and entirely disappointed when she got consumed by some nasty thing in the sewer when they turned back. So, so there's that thing. You give them enough quirk and you give them enough, character that they have something to grab onto.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think of too, people get upset about those things. Like I think about Barb, poor Barb from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, yeah.
She was in like 1 or 2 episodes, I think. And then
Barb wasn't meant to last. Yeah.
Barb was not meant to last, but I mean, she had her purpose, and then suddenly now there's no way to rescue her. They're not bringing her back. She's cooked. She's done.
Yeah.
But she fulfilled her role to do what she had to do, and then she is done. And everybody was very upset about Barb, though. It's like,
I know there was like a big campaign about where's Barb, or
yeah. No,
I remember that.
Forgotten. No.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Get Barb. We're done with her. Move on.
She's got a great idea. Well, I say it's a great idea. I like all my ideas are great ideas to me.
Joe had a lot of dirty dreams about Barb.
In those dreams,
He's his kind of lady. His kind of lady. The movie Moonstruck. Remember the movie Moonstruck? Cher and all that. Nicolas Cage. The story is the two brothers, and one brother distracted the other brother, and he cut off his hand in the bakery by accident, right? And they've had this grudge going on for you. And that could be a really good backstory. Not backstory, but 2 NPC brothers, almost like a faction within two factions within the family. I made a note. I'll do something with it.
The bakers, the Baker Guild. The
2 bakers. Be very 5e with some dwarven, enlightened, well, whatever word you want to use. Bakers, never mind. I'll leave that alone.
So, like, what are some of the tools you guys use? Like, is there anything that helps you develop NPCs that you go to? Like, Vance, you said you went to Dungeon, and then I think Mike, you said you use I think the Shadow Dark tables.
I use the Shadow. Oh, I'm sorry, Vance. You go ahead and go first, please, so I can think about what I want to
say. There's. I mean, Dungeon does a lot of heavy lifting for me. I'm trying to think. Chaotic Shiny has a little bit of stuff.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
There's. That one I use, and then there's a couple that I use actually for like deities and things. But mostly. And then of course, if I'm kind of do it out of just what do I need? What does this person look for? Like a lot of my town little town scenarios or things that I've written over the years, it's like, what's the leader of the town? What's their kind of agenda? What do they look for? Do they want to build the town out? Oh no, the bartender wants to keep it kind of a small, sleepy town because they don't like the outsiders or whatever. Or, so I make sure that, whether it's random or kind of purposeful, everybody has at least, a little bit of a little bit of color, and particularly for the town stuff, or maybe that NPC you need as part of an adventure or something. And of course you guys ran into Toby. Toby ogre. He just wants to wrestle.
Right.
That's right.
Toby just wants to wrestle.
Ogre.
We were not wrestling that, Toby. No, Toby, we're not wrestling, buddy.
Many times I've run that scenario. You guys are the only ones that did not wrestle Toby.
No.
I don't know if I wanted to be handled by Toby.
No, not in Shadow Dark.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm going to end up being the guy who decided to go into the gorilla cage and try to offer banana and then walk out with one less arm. Right? I don't want to be
Yeah,
Toby's plaything.
You can't afford. Listen, you're playing with hit points that you don't know if you're going to have those. You can't waste them wrestling with Toby. Toby's can't have my hit points.
Toby.
No, Toby, don't touch my hit points.
Yeah.
Down, Toby, down. Go
Down.
That's so funny you brought up shiny, chaotic shiny. I haven't thought. I used to talk to the one girl who ran. I can't think of her name right now.
Shiny?
She used to make the chaotic shiny girl. Yeah, I can't think of her name, but used to talk to her quite a bit. She used to put out a lot of really cool generators and that. And I've just it's been so long since I've been on their site. It's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, good night. It's day 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. there. Ooh.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, David.
And then
Yeah,
Greg
thanks
says,
for
I try to imagine my NPCs as variations on different dumbasses I've known in my life. So all of Greg's NPCs are dumbasses. Apparently.
He's either known a ton of dumbasses or his NPCs are going to kind of
Well,
be
he
the
does,
same team.
he does work in the corporate world, so there's
Yeah. He didn't say
plethora
that. He was thinking it, but he
Yeah.
didn't say it. Yeah.
I'll be listening for any variation on the name Paul, though. I will tell you that now.
So Saul enters the room.
So Saul, it's, what?
What is happening?
What is happening?
Hey.
We know you know how Greg feels about you if you show up as an NPC. That's what you got to listen for.
That's right.
Paul, what was that urban game you had, detective game, a week or two ago you were doing on your channel?
Oh, that was
Chap.
Urban Nights. Yeah, that's
We ought to do that, but with the characters from What's Happening. You know, Dwayne and Rerun.
You 100% could make them let
Kind of
them
merge
open-
those two games together.
Yeah,
and they
no,
meet
they
John
open a
Shaft.
detective agency. Yeah, they
What
open
you're
a
talking
detective agency, and you got Rerun. Rerun.
Oh God, rerun. Yeah.
Rerun gets it. Yeah, Rerun
Wow.
Rerun is down the street. He is
So
doing,
only anybody
breakdancing.
over 50 or 45 is going to know what we're talking about.
He's down there
Well, who do you
breakdancing.
think's listening, Tim?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, true.
You think we're
Yeah.
drawing in the 16-year-olds?
Well, Greg will say, well, I'm the youngest one here.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah. Rerun gets caught in a drive-by shooting,
A
and
fentanyl
then the
ring.
other two have to solve. They have to solve the mystery of why Rerun, was taken out, and they have to track down the drug dealers. That's how that would work out.
I get
But
back
Urban
to-
Nights looks like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, we ought to try that one night. That does look like a lot of fun. Something kind of off the beaten path would be a lot of fun. Going back to the NPCs, I always get hung up on what their jobs and their backgrounds are like, and what do they really do in this town? What do they do in this city? So I'll look at stuff like Canterbury Tales, and I'll come up with summoners and pardoners, and
Sure.
different characters from literature there, or which I think it's just being into history, because the people at the table stare at me and kind of like, what the hell are you talking about? What's a summoner, or whatever. But
Oh, I know. I love.
I like the realism of what they really do, what their job is. What the hell's a gong farmer? Well, I'll tell you.
Right.
Somebody's got to collect all that urine for the tanner so it can turn to ammonia, so they can make leather.
Because
We
I
call
love
it Piss
taking.
boy.
Yeah, piss boy. Piss boy.
This boy.
I used to make my one. I have these. I think Paul encountered one of them in my last. The Sin Eater. Were you the one who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're the Sin Eaters in our
The one with 8 arms. That should
Well,
have
no,
had
he-
6 arms.
No, he was
Eight
the one that was
arm?
all gross and had pustules all
Or
over.
eight-
him.
Oh yeah.
consumed helped exorcise the evil from
Oh, Columbo. That was
Columbo,
that's who-
Yeah.
That's right. I couldn't remember who. And I remember when Ken first met one of the Sin Eaters in my game. He just said he was paying him not to touch him. He's like, if I give you money, will you not touch me anymore? I added a link in there, guys. It's to the Nomicon that Matt Finch just put out not too long ago. It's definitely worth getting. It has, I think, I don't know how many different because Matt breaks them down into different, I guess, cultures and ages and different things like that. So if you want, Peruvian
name-
names.
Yeah,
What's that?
Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, the naming thing like
Anglo-Saxon.
Franks or
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxons or
Yeah.
Frisians or Danes.
So
or
that way you can flavor your game. Like Greg in the audience there, he likes to do French stuff that you can't pronounce. And so if you want
can't.
unpronounceable names, well, for me, I can only
Yeah.
speak.
Greg,
Yeah.
if you're still there, I shared this beforehand with Tim, but some of the stuff I look at, not so much for NPCs, but for ideas for my games, is on the history side, or Jean Froissart's Chronicles of the 14th Century, which covers the first half of the 100 Years' War, and Jean Joinville, who was a knight that traveled with Louis IX. I think that's Louis the Pious in the Seventh Crusade. Anyway, lots of great stuff in there. Lots of good French names too.
Yeah.
Chubby, maybe we need to work on a French thing together, and we'll just convert it and translate it, and we'll sell it just in France with Mary Mushman or something.
I don't think that last word's French, Chubby.
Yeah. It's la biatch. Parlez-vous français, biatch. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Yeah, that reminds me. Another tool I use heavily. Speaking of the naming, is the fantasy name generators.com site,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a nice thing because you can actually, you can do
I know which one that one is.
the weird fantasy names, or it's got what he calls the real names, where you can pull names from different countries and ethnicities and things like that.
Yeah,
and that's the one I tend to lean on. But yeah, again, I'll run up a bunch of cool names, ones that I think are cool and will fit characters or NPCs or whatever, and I fill them out, and then I'm trying to use them at the table. I'm like, I don't really know how to pronounce this weird Eastern European name. This really cool looking Romanian name that
With
just
a Cyrillic
words
accent.
rolling up your NPC names. Make sure you can pronounce them at the table, and maybe the guys that take notes can actually, write down at least a phonetic name.
I mean, Angry Bob could have been Angry Robert,
Robert.
Malheureux Robert.
Yeah, give it to your players and say, how would you say that? Okay, good.
Right.
That's his name. That's his name.
Well, that's how I use a lot of. I lean into a lot of Hungarian and Serbian when I need something a little bit different. But what did you call it? Anglo-Saxonize them. So they're a little bit like the Comor Forest. Comor in Hungarian, or their version that I got it from, just means dark. I mean, but I just took that word and just kind of made it so I could pronounce it and did it that. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Hungarian words, but yeah, it makes French look like 101. Yeah. I don't know how they talk.
With a dwarf named Goulash.
Goulash. What? Oh, Ivy's yelling at me. What? Are you offended that I'm making fun of Hungarian, or just that they put too many consonants in a row? She laughed at that, so she understands.
Budapest.
Oh, I thought she was concerned that you were having you were doing cultural appropriation.
Jacques Lemoyne.
Well, maybe that.
She was.
Lemoyne. Oh, that's right. Didn't you play Moister? Yes.
Moistner. Was that his background job, or?
Well, I don't remember. What the hell? I remember the character, unfortunately, but I can't remember. Was that in Rob's campaign, Craig, when you were playing Lee Moisten? Because he loves saying the name.
His special trait was the ability to lick stamps and envelopes.
Oh. What is
The character
we're trying to call
the legend Brittany Deers.
Oh gosh,
Brittany Deers.
Marvis.
Vance laughed so hard he killed his camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say Vance chuckled so hard he
chuckled so hard his camera went off.
Yeah.
He's breaking Starlink over Nebraska.
You know something too, talking about naming NPCs, is that I used to listen to the Glass Cannon podcast, which was they were running first edition Pathfinder at the time. And he'd always introduce like an NPC, and then he'd say, and played by, and he'd do this thing where he would like use some famous name, just that made me think of it, where played by Charles Grodin, right? So he had in his mind when he would introduce the NPC that he like attach this name to give it some kind of, I mean,
Right.
obviously the people that you're playing with understand then the context of who Charles Grodin is or whatever,
Right.
whatever you're using. That, and I thought that was just, to me, was just a smart idea. It says that when you're introduced, just like when you see, usually it's the last name, like when you're watching an old TV show, it will say, and also starring, and then it will have whoever the famous person is that was there for 30 seconds or whatever they did, whatever their job was for that show. And I thought to myself, well, that's just a fun idea to think about. It's like, hey, if you're introducing your NPC as a, somebody famous, in media or books or whatever the context may be, that you're thinking that gives you a way to flesh it out a little bit more, maybe how they talk or mannerisms, or things like that. I mean, is your character always going hoo-ha, like Al Pacino? Like, does he have this thing? So I always found that just a fun way to, like, you're introducing your NPCs as guest stars, starring as, and then you kind of just think about who that character is going to be and what role they're playing.
One of the supplements I have back there, maybe it's Nave 2E, is great for like little facial marks and little. I mean, you really want to flesh out a character with a bunch of little nuanced stuff on the fly. I think it's Nave is really, really good for that with tables. The stuff you're talking about, Paul. So you could roll it up real quickly, but instead of having to imagine a TV character film, which is fine, but if you really just had to roll it out and see how they act, or if they have a speech impediment, or they, they dribble a lot, or they spit when they talk, or they have a booger in their nose, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of work for me. I mean,
the table, you roll the die. That's all there is to it.
I know, but even that, I'm like,
pull out the Nave 2E book. No.
My stuff happens like El Natural sometimes. Like,
wait a minute. Like, you're in the buff. We don't want to know about that.
Well, that's one of my NPCs. He just runs around naked all the time. It's all
demonetized.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just a matter of like, I'll just think of something and it'll become a thing, as part of the deal. So to me, it's just whatever comes to my head. I don't ever, anything cool that my NPC does, I never wrote down in the first place.
Yeah.
It happened just because he was interacting and then he did something and then he did it. Now, I will have to get, because now we're moving into the phase where we're in my setting, of Kriyesh, that I have to then think about a little bit more about those, and I will have to flesh those out, and I will have to be a little bit more detailed. Another resource, I'm funny, it's because we're talking about NPCs, because I'm going to be, when I get to that phase, of course, I'll probably do a video on NPCs, and there was a, and I'll drop the link, I guess, in the chat. This is called the Universal NPC Emulator, and it's just, it's very thin.
Where's that one from?
That's from
Games.
And I'll put a link there. But it has, your NPC verbs, NPC nouns. It's got, all kinds of tables. It's not very big. I mean, it's only like 17 pages.
That's not bad.
But it has a bunch of words, almost like Knave or some of those things where it kind of does that. But yeah. So when I'm gonna start doing some of that, I'll go to something like that and just start fiddling around with it and making it at least for the one, like for the tiers, because I think it has tiers in there. I can't remember what it says, but like Mike was saying, that you have low level tiers on, and then you have the mid level tiers, and then you get the high level tiers. You're gonna have the barkeep, you're gonna have the mayor, you're gonna have, there's gonna be people who need some fleshing out, so because for plot or for whatever it may be, for hooks or whatever it may be, and then you're going to have the mid levels, and then you're going to have the low level, piss boys, and until the NPC, until the player characters make them something. That's just their job. They show up. They're like the guys that just kind of walk around the video game. That like they're just walking around until somebody engages them to ask them a question or something.
Yeah. And one of the things I liked about Shadow Dark and Greg, he's got his GM companion, Shadow Dark. Yeah, he's added to it too. But like the NPCs, so they had a physical trait, a behavior trait, and then my favorite one is always a secret. I always like the whatever little secrets that they're keeping. And then in I don't know, for some reason I just love that part. I don't use I don't use all three of them. Usually I'll use maybe 2 out of the 3 tables for an NPC. Because then I think when you start trying to determine too much ahead of time too, you almost try to force it into that,
Yeah, because you took the time to roll it up. Now you got to use
right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you get to where you're writing a book almost. You're like you're spending a lot of time like you're writing a book report on a on a particular character,
Right.
and it turns into a page and a half or 2 pages of all manner of things and what his lineage was and
Right.
I'd rather have a table for what their breath smells like. What did he eat last?
There you go.
Roll up. That's an onion. Oh, there's a turnip. There's a starburst. Cherry.
yeah.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
Paul's cough drop.
Is there any NPC books you guys use at all? Because I know there's all these resources out there that create NPCs and NPC pre-made. Do you guys use any of them?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. I have to admit that all those NPC cards and things, I hardly ever use them.
Oh, not NPC.
Just
Well,
because-
you know what?
not
No.
yet. Not yet.
Well, you know who did those well was at least originally came out was Pathfinder 1 had some NPC cards, just faces. They had those clear
Yes.
full color
The
ones.
cards.
Those were really good. That if I wanted to just say, hey, that's who that is, then that's what that is. I mean, that's before, a lot of other, books that were out and other things, but those were always a pretty good resource for just to show a visual, say that's what that looks like.
Let's see if
That's
I
who
can
that
find
is.
the one that I used. What about you? man?
Austin's still here. I thought he was going to meditate. Austin, are you
We
lying
are his
to us? You're still hanging
meditation.
around? I thought you were leaving. You don't have to. You're welcome to stay to the end.
Hey, don't let Mike chase you off.
Yeah, and you guys in the you folks in the comments section, ask some questions about NPCs. Please give us something here to don't leave us hanging out here.
Here we go.
Yeah, otherwise we start blathering.
Throw us a bone.
Well, they come for the they come
They
for
come
the
for the blathering.
You guys remember this?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
This is the one.
classic.
Yeah, that's the old the Shady Dragon Inn. Apparently, I have 2 of them. Apparently, surprise.
Of course.
One I got legit. I probably bought them like 20 years apart. So, but in like all good things, I bought this one not knowing the booklet wasn't in it. So there you go. But it has all the NPCs. People haven't seen it before. You youngins. Greg's probably never seen this one. I don't know. He's too young. But you take this picture, basically, and then they number them all, and then they have little snippets. I think this is the only thing as a kid that I used like as an NPC collection. I can't think of many other like NPCs that I go to. And
Does anybody take characters from other adventures, like in other words,
Other
or other
games.
settings,
Yeah.
and
Like
says,
Mark.
"Hey, I'm going to port that guy over, that girl over into." That's a really fun character. I think I need to put him in my game, different name or whatever it may be. But that character's got all this cool background. He's got all the cool stuff. I'll just use him.
Yeah, I grab them from books, even not games, but like fantasy books all the time. The Thieves World stuff, or Christopher Buhlman stuff, or whoever I'm reading at a given time. It's Ray Feist right now, the magician, and I'll just go, well, that's a really cool idea, and I'll make a little note, when I'm listening or reading to this in Google Keep, which is what I use, and then I can play with it later, or not use it, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere I can get some sort of inspiration, which is easy with Solo Dark because I only have to impress myself. But
There you go.
I would ask Tim.
I'm an easy audience,
Yeah. Tim, who's on the level of like when you would play in Forgotten Realms, or you would play in some of the, one of these high end Magic deals? You always wanted to run into I say this: if you knew the setting, if you were knowledgeable of the setting, I think there were people who always wanted to run into Elminster, or they wanted to run into whomever was the whatever. Who are the Elminsters? Who are the people
For
of your
me?
who is your setting that if we were to run into them, like, oh, these are major players. I don't even know if we've met them, but these are like major players in our city that have like, you know, been around for a while.
How would you know from like, are you talking about from me drawing them from other things? Or
No,
what
well, no, just you know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I said, I don't know if we've met them or not. I don't know if we've met the Elminster of Scorn or the.
Gotcha.
I don't know if we've met those guys yet.
Yeah, and in my game, you may never know,
Okay.
depending on
It's a
the
secret.
situation. Well, yeah, because you guys have interact with one very significant player in the world, but you guys just don't know about it. I mean, and you do it on a regular break. Joe knows who it is because he has the other campaign based off of it to know who it is and why he is the way he is. And he went through a year and a half of the campaign and never knew until near the end. He never knew anything about it. But that's like the other day. I don't know, with my campaign, what I do is I don't give stuff away that much. I mean, you guys got to kind of ask for it. I mean, or investigate it some. Like Joe was doing his thing the other day. It was a little funny because I was going to give him shit for it, but I decided not to. So he was talking about the economy in his games and coins and stuff. And he was bitching about how Hound's Head had a very high priced ales or something like that. Well, there was a reason why. He just never investigated why. So while he thought it was a flaw in the game, his just lazy ass just never thought of like why is it high? You know, there was maybe a reason behind that.
He thought it was arbitrary. He just said, well, it's high because Tim wanted it to be high.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So Joe, don't do shortcut thinking, man. Do a little investigation.
He wanted to milk the players for their money, so they wouldn't have any money left.
Yeah. No, but in that case, there was actually, you know, because I love doing these like small little minutia adventures where so what ended up happening is somebody kidnapped one of the ale women. And so the supply from ale just got dropped in half because she was one of the suppliers. So if you would have went and tried to investigate it, you know, you would have found out it had nothing to do with the ale. It had just a lover's quarrel was going on and everything, just some random thing that happened, but it affected the economy of an entire little hamlet. You know,
look at Chubby's comment.
I said, Joe knows about as much about economics as me. I don't know where to go with that one.
Yeah, no Milton Friedman.
Chubby makes another good point there, though. He said earlier, says it's really important to remember this, that everyone in this stream here is a veteran GM, that he's also a veteran. Says what we can do a lot of things without a helpful book, but many new GMs can't.
Yeah.
So a lot of new GMs need a tool, and a lot of people who
absolutely.
They need those tools. They need those things that say, okay, where am I going to come up with this, or where am I going to? We take for granted, right? Take things for granted. There's people drowning in. Oh, they want to talk to so and so, and they're like, you remember the first time somebody probably said that, you just started to sweat because you were like, I don't have anybody. Where are we going to get that from?
They're all Bob.
Yeah.
Don't go to Joe. Yeah. No, I don't. I try not to go for Joe for anything except what antibiotics I need for any type of maybe fungal thing that somebody has. Or whatever. That's about it.
Hey, we might have a problem here. Robert is asking in the chat. I would ask questions. I have questions, but I'm new to RPGs. I'm trying to get my kids into it. All they do is look at their phones.
Okay, I have an answer for that. First, you go buy a hammer. And then
are they on your
children for their phones?
Well, how old are they, Robert? Because that depends on how. Yeah. I mean that adds a lot to if they're younger, if they're teenagers, or if they're 30.
Living in the basement.
Right? Yeah, are they still in the basement at 30? We don't. It's hard to tell because.
Yeah.
But Mark say, I bet the hillbilly guy in Hound's Head that was looking for an elf to sacrifice for good weather is a major figure.
That's a callback. We avoided that guy like the plague. We said we better get the heck out of here. This dude's weird.
It's so funny how when I start playing because like that one section of the Comore Forest, I have just basically a Appalachian kind of culture, Melungians down there, and how many people get creeped out so quick by them. They just like they get creeped out, and I'm like, I'm leaving. I don't think anybody's ever. Oh no, there was one group that went murder hobo on them. Yeah, there was one
Good
group.
for them. Good for them.
Yeah. 16, 6, 14, and 17. That's
quite the age range. I mean, the 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Robert, I've got one who's going to be 30 here shortly in June, and he hasn't played RPGs for many years. He's a gamer, video gamer, but in his work, he started playing with people from work, and he'll play D&D with them when he's away on business on a trip. But he will not play with us here, including some of his own cousins at the game that play with me. But he won't join us to play. So some of it's going to be personality, just dad and the kid thing. Some of them may really not, be into it at all. But
right.
If you get 1 out of 3 that kind of stays with it, and you guys,
I was going to say, target that 6-year-old, start molding them.
Yeah.
Well, also, I would say invite. It depends, what the level of, of whatever it is. But I try to recruit the older to help the younger if I can, right? So hey, help so and so, help them along. Let them, work with the older to do a better job of working with the younger kids rather than them being competitive in some way. Make sure that's collaborative, that they're all kind of in this together.
And one of my suggestions would be just target one of them off the bat. See which one maybe he's interested the most, and then bring it up to him. Just do a one-on-one session because the other ones are going to start going. What is Dad and John doing now? Why are they? They're paying attention here, and that way you can actually have a really in-depth game with them, and you can get more involved with them and teach them the game and whatnot. What's that? Only love your kids when they do what you want.
That is true. It works well.
I'm gonna drop in the private chat here a video I did about running games for teens over on my channel.
Yes, you did.
And because I've played with I've run games for a number of teenagers, and everything is depending on who the teenager is and those things. Usually they're one shots. The One Ring that I've been running with, as of late, haven't played lately, but a couple of weeks ago when I played with them, they're just cool. They're just I think if you're whether you're teaching them or whether you're trying to get them into it, and about the phones, I think that's upon the DM. You have to be engaging enough to make them look up. You have to be able to say, okay, a monster's coming to eat you. What would you like to do? Right. So a threat level 6 needs to come in there to where now they're like, oh, it's something's happening. And now if I look at my phone, my character is going to pass from this life. Maybe I should do something. So,
I don't
quick
want to
starts
judge
are
Robert.
good for that.
I don't want to judge Robert, but it is odd. His 6-year-old already has a phone.
Oh, everybody's 6-year-old has a phone.
I'm actually kidding.
He's normal,
a pager, maybe a pager at 6.
So, Paul, you're going to be proud of me. I'm going to plug something. So, Robert, I have this thing called Starter Adventures, and I created this one a long time ago. I had what I made it for is I had a session with my wife who never played games before, and after she was done, I wanted to make a book about just one. What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, adventures just for beginners, and they're just one-on-one or duet games, I guess they're called nowadays. Duet games. I don't know. That's still a weird term.
That's kind of cool.
For all different classes. So it has the 4 major classes. There's 4 adventures for each class in there. So you can just sit down and play one of these really quick adventures, and it teaches them about the game, and not just the math rocks, but also the maybe the philosophy about it beyond just the combat, the value of gaining like NPCs, the value of considering the situation and making judgments on things. And I think it does a pretty good job with it, and it's just to help someone to get involved in the game. And then I flesh out a character or a tavern, and then a full-fledged adventure at the end. Although I think I made the adventure too tough for beginners, but it is a pretty rough adventure. I can't help myself. I always make my adventures a little bit. A little bit rough.
So your first PC died. So now, wasn't that fun?
yeah. Well, the starter adventures aren't deadly. They're really not deadly. Those 4 ones that are pretty casual. Some of them don't even include any combat. It's just a matter of like, doing some investigation, or it's actually a setup. It's like one of those ones where, like the thieves one, if you get thrown in, the pits or whatever like that, part of the test is, do you squeal? They're threatening you with, hard time, and that they don't care whether you stole it or not. They're just going to see how loyal you are, whether you're going to stick with the guild, decide with the guild, or are you going to try to save yourself? And they set up the situation because of that. So, so there's just different things like
So
that.
hopefully that's helpful, Robert. Hopefully we have assisted you in some way.
I was going to say, I haven't played with young kids much, but my niece and her husband are early 30s, and their younger ones will come along when we play. And they were playing a game with their dad for a while. And it seems like maybe young kids, Paul, you can attest this better than I can, but it seems they're immediately drawn to the combat and the violence part, and I can get a sword and I can do this. I chopped his head off. It's like the kind of the murder hobo instinct of Homo sapiens kicks in.
Some are.
Maybe, and Paul, again, jump in. Maybe there's a way to, yes, this is part of the game, but how would you maybe highlight, the inquisitiveness or the exploration part or the discovery or the puzzle aspects of the game for them?
I am shocked by, and this is as kids as young as 11 or 12 that I've played with, that are how much they want to negotiate rather than fight. They would rather negotiate and make a deal. Now, younger kids, if you're talking about 6 through 8, if you want to go that's to me. I mean, but even them, I mean, they're, I don't usually have games for kids that young, but the ones that I have seen played tend to be, they want to just make friends. Like, I want that pet animal.
They killed them.
And they always want to tame stuff, don't they?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They want to tame it.
They're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically.
They're playing Pokemon. That's right. They're like, I get to collect animals.
I noticed that.
Yeah. So they'll do a lot of those things. Now, there are some, like I said, but you are right in this. There are some who do focus on combat. And you can, if you can design games that require them, right, to negotiate, that there is no other choice but to, like, if you're beating an unbeatable foe and the monster or whoever gives you a choice that you have to make, it's either you're going to do this or you're going to do that. You're not going to beat me, right? You're going to have to do that. So you have to put them in situations where negotiation is part of the combat somehow. Right.
That's the biggest favor you can do to a young for a young person who's maybe learning and may wind up playing for decades like we did, is maybe show them consequences early of doing the dumb thing and trying to fight everything, and let them, they've got to find out, they've got to learn that there may be other ways to do this than trying to kill everything you meet. That's not really the game. It's about being smarter than that. It's about surviving, and getting and progressing and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Paul, did you?
Absolutely. And it's up to us as to set the table for them, right? To figure out what that's going to, once we figure out who they are.
Gears a little bit, since we're talking about the kids though, but like in my experience, when I was gaming with some of the kids, I don't know if you found this, because when I game with kids, we're talking about probably now 20 years ago when I was gaming with them, they didn't do anything because they were afraid they were going to lose.
Yeah.
They're always afraid they're going to lose something, or they wanted everything up front. Like I had a few kids, they wanted, how come I am not like, powerful? I want to do 2,000 points of damage with my sword. I'm like, because you suck right now.
Yeah.
You know, you just suck. That's okay. And he's like, well, I don't want to suck. I said, okay, I'll play your game with you. All right, what do you want? He goes, I want, money. Okay, you have all the money in the world. What do you want next? You want all the power? You got all the power in the world. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You got it all. Now what? That was a fun game. Now, do you want to start a real game, or you want to, pretend, kind of thing?
Yeah, winning at that age is playing the game, or you can go clean your room.
Right,
or you can go rake the backyard. Either one, or you could play the game right now.
The cool thing is, though, is the ones that I did with, they're actually running games now for other people at our gaming store. I see them now; they're in their 30s. I, worked with them when they're in their teens or prepubescent ages and stuff like that. But now they're both. Actually, the two that I really worked with, they were running the. What was the Dungeon League thing for 5th edition Adventures League, right? Yeah, they were the two DMs for the Adventure League at the thing, and they still have the books that I gave them from way back, 20 years ago. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think too, there's part of it where if you're playing with, and this is true of maybe some adults, at least in my different kind of games I've played with people, where RPGs cross over into teaching tools, and some things you teach, some things are taught accidentally, right. And some things are taught on purpose. And so, when you're working with kids, I tend to view it as a teaching tool until they discover how much fun they're having. So it's, in other words, I'm trying to help them cross over from, hey, I'm teaching you this. I'll let you do that. And I always tell them at the beginning of the game, you say, well, how do we tell kids? Say, well, look, real simple. I said, I tell them your character can die. Your character can lose points, and your character can pass from this life. I said the way that happens is two ways: the dice rolls or stupid choices. I said those are one is in your control, one is out of your control. I said that that's going to happen. And so when I'm working with kids like that, it's like, hey, they discover when they lose 10 hit points in a fight and they left with 5. When you start emphasizing their character's points going down, that they're almost to 0, then they start going, well, depending on who it is. I mean, some kids don't care, but some kids are like, oh, I've lost a lot of points. Oh, okay. So, you're kind of, as a DM, you're conscious of who's playing and what you're teaching them and how you're trying to, you're not teaching them how to have fun. You're teaching them that within the game realm, that this is an aspect of the game, and to maximize the game that you want to enjoy the game. I think as to its maximum is to kind of say, okay, I'm gonna put myself in this position. I'm gonna act as my character, and I'm going to not act like I'm Superman all the time, and that becomes at least a tool to help them understand the boundaries of the game. Because if you want to die, look, if you want to be like maybe it should be like what is that movie that came out? Mickey 17, where he keeps dying, and he keeps dying, and they keep bringing him back. Look, if you want to spend time rolling up, if you want to go through 20 characters in this adventure, let's have at it. Let's see how by the 4th character, we'll see how much fun you're having.
How many did you have in my campaign there, Paul?
2.
2 or 3?
3.
3. True. 3. Okay. So in that regard, once again, but I'm old. I don't look forward to like, oh, I gotta roll up another character. Okay.
Right.
But a kid, let's see how many they, let's see how many characters, if they want to enjoy rolling up a character. All right, good. He's dead. Yeah. Let's roll up another one. Then roll up another one. It's like, oh, would you how? And maybe that'd be a great study, right? How long do the characters last? Do their lives tend to last a little longer? Do their choices tend to change?
Would you do a funnel or a gauntlet with the little ones, maybe to move them in there? So if they make a mistake and they don't have a lot of HP, they're dead. All right, go on to their next character.
Sure. Give them three to 4 characters that they could run if they want, or something like that. You could do that for sure.
Throw a beholder at them.
That's right.
Why not?
Kill them
Why
all.
not? Well, listen,
I don't think I've ever played with a beholder. in all these years because I just thought it was stupid, a flying eyeball. And it's like I never liked the idea, and I know that's like, oh, what?
That's a hot take.
I don't like mind flayers either. That's just some cheesy sci-fi thing from the 50s. I don't like.
Wow.
I want humanoids and dragons. Give me that and some undead, and I'm a happy camper.
Listen, I'm a fan now of putting big monsters in games early, if not necessarily for combat, but at least they know it's there, because most of the players that you play with are never going to reach a level. You're never going to play long enough to where they're at the level in which to actually fight or beat said monster. So I might as well put them in there as at least a threat, or as a thing that says, oh, there's a thing over there. It's very scary. Let's see if it attracts you. Let's see if you go over there and see what happens.
That's why I threw the Roper in there that one time.
Yeah, buddy.
But he was playing in there. But
love that Roper. Him.
Yeah, I think him and the Roper had some intimate moments there.
Yeah. Yeah, he still got out of it.
You got out of everything somehow. Yeah.
Oh no, with enough
somehow. I mean, you were on the ground more than standing a few times, but you still got up. I mean,
that's just how blogger rolled, though.
Yeah, now you're hunting Asmodeus's head to take his throne.
Exactly. Yeah. We're doing some urban redevelopment. Yeah, we're doing urban renewal.
We're gentrifying this hell. We're gonna make this a better hell than before. Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. All right. Anything else, guys? Or you think we covered it? Or
I think that's a good. I don't know. I had fun.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. I encountered my ex-wife when I was 17. Notice he used the word encountered.
Why is I know?
Oh, was it a random encounter or was it a planned encounter?
There we go. Well,
I felt like the DM could have at least waited until I was 30 to be able to handle that kind of evil.
It was a succubus.
Wait, did you marry a beholder? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Or a mind flayer?
A lot of bad reaction.
I don't think you want to know what the name is that.
I bet it's French.
I bet it's French. La biatch.
Was your wife French?
And I'll bet y'all understand what he says too.
I will not need a translator.
That's right. So, too fun. Oh, should I do a Joe? I had to do a Joe all night.
Sure.
Let me check, guys. Let me see. Oh, we got 73 people on X. We got 43 people on Y. We got 22 people in the Magic Mirror.
Oh, we got 32 people on MySpace.
10 from MySpace.
We got some MySpace in there.
Yeah.
And then, I think we got 13 from TikTok, but I had to kick them all out. It's hard to keep track of all.
Somebody here from Ultra.
So there's the Joe report for the night.
And one from InfoSeek.
Yeah.
From was it called ICQ?
Somebody from
God, ICQ, yes.
Yeah, we've got a few in there from ICQ that came over.
And then ICQ. And what was the other weird one that is Skype even a thing anymore? Is that still around?
Maybe no.
Yeah, sure.
Really.
Yeah.
Maybe some AOL Messenger. I got some of those.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. AOL Messenger. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. That's so funny. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Yeah.
That's right.
DM, can I work in a shameless plug? My channel.
Yeah, sure.
Any of you guys and gals who haven't found me, go find Erudite DM, please, and subscribe and like. And I'm sure somehow it'll pay off for you in the end.
And I will be on his show tomorrow night.
Yep, tomorrow night,
interviewing him.
About Paul and I are going to fumble through our own restream experience with Lystra, or I am. So
that's right. I have no control over your restream. I just want to point that out now. So whatever happens,
it's his fault. She said, pawn her way. She just got to grab the side of the screen and pull herself.
I've never seen people have that much fun in Nebraska.
A lot of corn.
Yeah, usually it involves a lot of drinking.
My brother-in-law is from Lincoln. I need to go pull up the map now because I'm trying to think, where the hell is there a panhandle in Nebraska?
The entire eastern third of the state. or western
Kind
third. I mean,
of makes that little hitch, that little giddy up there on that one
Yeah.
on the east side. Okay.
yeah, the giddy up on the east side's following the river. The west side is connected to all the boring square states.
They call that a panhandle, really?
Yeah, we're one of the 3 states with panhandles.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana. It's a boot. What don't you know? What can I
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
Oh, I might come troll that interview. if
Oh,
I have
please
the
do.
time.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Great.
right.
Yeah. Oh,
Sounds
and
good.
one thing for Chubby. Thanks, Chubby, for coming in. But before you leave, do you have any thoughts on NPCs and how you use them in Pendragon? We'd really like to hear that.
Okay. Pendragon.
So when we get that Pendragon game and all your spare time,
Oh
you're great
man.
in for us.
Yeah.
He's gonna
Get
give me
on
a
that,
big-
Greg.
He's gonna give me a big FU.
Vance is in Nebraska.
Vance is in
yeah.
Nebraska. Yeah.
Vance is
Well,
in Nebraska.
This is in Nebraska.
Live from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I thought Vance
And
was
I'm going to go to
Seattle.
my favorite dive
Yeah.
bar
Not-
and go
Oh.
kick some, redneck ass. No, I don't.
There. Oh wow. Wow.
Damn,
I'm
crazy.
a friendly drunk.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
He's a friendly redneck drunk.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. My drawl definitely does pick up when I'm out here.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
He's not angry Vance. He's friendly Vance.
Is that where you're from originally, Vance, from Nebraska?
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, this is,
originally from Nebraska?
Yeah. This
He's
is my.
originally from
I'm in
Nebraska.
basically in my hometown right now.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Go Cornhuskers.
Oh yeah.
Big red.
At least the women's volleyball team and maybe the wrestlers, but yeah, the
Yep.
football's a
Yeah.
pale shade.
Hey, it was good to tell the Longhorns "fu" and leave the Big 12. I understand as an Aggie, but
Yeah.
it hadn't worked out that great for us in the SEC. Yeah, it has. We've done some fun.
And there we lost it. We're talking college football.
Now we're talking sport ball, and everybody's like, "What is
No,
this
no,
they're talking about?"
you're right. I shouldn't have gone there. Let's
Is
get
it
back to
football bite?
Pendragon.
Yeah, no,
All
but
right.
I'm just in Nebraska for a couple of weeks taking vacation.
No, that's cool, Vance. I'm glad you. Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, so yeah, back to the
So we're going
back to
to
the
our-
liberal left coast
We're
later.
going, yeah, so we're gonna go.
That's right. Fly over to Starbucks. Yep. Exactly. All right, guys, we're heading out.
We actually have flyover brewing here.
Oh, brewing. There you go.
Yeah,
But,
the name of the
join
local
us next
brewery is
week.
Flyover.
Flyover.
Yeah,
We'll have some joint. Make sure you go to Erudite DM's new channel. He's got one video out right now. It's kind of your intro
One
video.
and a couple of shorts and
Couple of
things
shorts.
like this help because a lot of people are like, he's not such a jerk.
And then he's
not a
gonna have
jerk.
Paul.
Not a big jerk, so I'll follow him and
No.
subscribe. And
Yeah,
Paul and I'll have fun
Paul's
tomorrow night.
subscribe. Yeah, they'll have a lot of fun. Make sure you do that. I'll try to make sure I'm there to heckle from the peanut gallery a little bit. And so join us next week. I'm not sure what we're going to do or where Vance will be, but so have a good night, everybody.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Ken.
Do well.
Thanks, guys.